This podcast was produced on the lands of the Cubby Cubby people. We pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and thank them for how they have lovingly cared for and preserved the land, natural resources, and bush medicine in which we are inspired by today.
Hello and welcome to the Students of Natural Health podcast. My name is Dana Laura. I'm a student naturopath from Australia and I'm going to be your host for this episode. Now, this episode is a special one because it's not a common thing that you get to meet your professional idols. Some of you will already know who this is, as she's actually the author of one of our main textbooks, Clinical Naturopathic Medicine. She's also one of the most respected and sought after educators, public speakers, and naturopathic practitioners for fertility and reproductive health in Australia and internationally. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Leah Hechtman.
Thank you so much for having me. Look forward to being here.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share your wisdom with students on our humble podcast. I don't know if you're actually aware, but for a lot of people, you are the introduction to naturopathic profession. In my very first subject I ever did, complementary medicine foundations. Your first chapter was my very first reading, and
fun!
And your videos with the NHAA about the philosophy of naturopathy is our first introduction to into the space. So this is such a cool full circle moment to talk to you today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I was so young then.
Yeah, I think some of them
I'm trying to remember what I said.
I think they're like 12 years or 14 years, but like
oh no, they're pre-kids. They're pre-kids. I don't even know what I look like, but that's cute. Thank you.
It's very cool. It's very on brand. We got all of the green in the background. I love it.
Awesome.
But what I really wanted to pick your brains about and talk to you about today was your journey, get to know you and get to know some of the little gems and wisdom that you might be able to pass on to fellow students that are very ambitious and wanting to have a very successful naturopathy career like yourself. So I am going to jump into some questions.
Please, go for it.
Fantastic. The first one we always have to start with is, how did you come into natural medicine, or how did it find you? Because that seems to be the way it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so for me, I was quite sick as a child, and my mum, in her wisdom, helped me to sort of have lots of integrative functional clinicians. And it was certainly the functional medicine, naturopathic medicine, that helped me more than the collective medicine. Collective is probably not the right word, but allopathic I don't like. So, it's one of those. But yeah, no, it's through health. Yeah. So naturopathy itself, I always knew I wanted to be a doctor from a really little kid, 2, 3, that sort of thing. And I didn't finish school because I was too sick. So I did, what was it? I think I did the first term of year 12 and then I couldn't keep going. But I had started with one subject of naturopathy. So I always knew that I wanted to be a doctor. I always knew I wanted to be integrative. And I was 17 and it was like, well, I can start one subject of naturopathy from my bed. I can do that. And then it just kept going. And then it was do that and then do other degrees and then do PhDs and whatever. And the PhD was the only other major point where I went, I'm either going to study medicine and delay kids, or I'm going to have kids and do a PhD because that's logical, but let's not go there. But it's always still this thing in me. Do I go back and do medicine? I don't know. I kind of feel a bit too old now and I'm very satisfied with what I've done and do, but it was definitely fascinating that life opened it for me. And I often look at it and go, had I not started with naturopathy before I did medicine, who would I have become and how would I have translated that into a career? And I had a wonderful conversation with Stephen Myers when I was about 18. And I was talking to him about the idea of, I still want to study medicine. I've done about a year of naturopathy. What do you think? And he's like, you absolutely finish naturopathy first. And you make sure that it's the foundation of who you are and it's the philosophy of how you see the world and how you see health. And then if you still want to do medicine, open it up, but make sure that you're foundationally grounded in naturopathic philosophy because it will change who you are and how you practice forever.
Yeah.
And he was 100% right.
Wow. That's
fortuitous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just processing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Because at the time I was in naturopathy and an integrative doctor. So he was a naturopath first and then a doctor and a German naturopath at that, which in my mind it's just that their training back then was phenomenal. And he was my doctor when I was 14, 15, really sick. And then he let me sit in on his consults from 17, 18, 19, 20, taught me everything around his practice. And I would help out in the IV clinic room and I would, sit in on consultations and he let me do that while I was training so that it would give me the foundation and the confidence to understand how to integrate it all. I've had some incredible people come into my life. Been very, very blessed.
yeah, that is some incredible mentorship. Like the fact that you had that nurturing, and I imagine it even now that is invaluable. But I mean, I don't know how long ago was that you were that you were studying as well.
Yeah,
Like,
so I'm 47 now. So I was 17 when I started. So 30 years ago, I started studying naturopathy. But also, I mean, I'm 17 and I was part of a homeopathic proving group. So Peter Tomanello. So he saw in me what I was capable of. So we would sit as a group and we would take remedies. And so his book, 12 Jewels, which is all about the gem elixirs. There's like my stories in there. Like he mentored me. Joachim Flora, who's the Dr. Naturopath, mentored me. I also had kinesiology mentors. I had energetic healing mentors. I had so many incredible people. I had this integrative GP that because I was having IV nutrients because I was unwell. And so she would teach me how to do the IV and how to check all the different changes in the body. And like everyone just saw that I had passion in it and saw maybe they saw potential or maybe they just saw passion. Like I was teaching meditation at 16, 17 from my energetic healing person because everyone just saw she knows what she wants to do here. Let's just help her. I mean, that's just like, which is why it's like you reach out to me and you go, will you come on the podcast? And I go, absolutely. Because anyone that will help out, and to me, it's like that's true clinicians, true academics, true practitioners help each other.
yeah, beautiful. I love that
Mm.
answer so much. And just I feel like I'm currently in the midst of studying, right? As a like
Mm.
I'm at tertiary, I'm doing the tertiary level study and it's
Mm.
amazing and but we keep getting told like this is just foundational stuff. Like the learning doesn't
Yep.
stop here. You need to keep evolving it and keep growing it. And
Yep.
the fact that
Yep.
you've had these beautiful mentors like pouring the water and nurturing you as you go, it's just
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And I can see now why you would be so successful in your career too. Like it's, of
Mm.
course, so much of it is from you, but it's also about the nurturing and the cultivating of that.
Absolutely. But I mean, this is why mentorship is so important and why, and obviously, your audience will be multiple ages and different backgrounds and all sorts of things. But it's like I would help out all of these people, and it was never a job. It was never that I was interested in money. It was I wanted to learn. And I'm not saying that to big note me. I'm saying that the dynamic and the exchange was about shared collaboration. And so I would sit there in the class and read a textbook and hear about something but then I would be mentored by someone who would make it real for me. Because it's very dry to sit in a biochemistry class, and learn about the Krebs cycle versus sit with a clinician and sit with a patient and their results and look through their oat test and look through the biochemistry of what's actually going on for them and see the transformation. It makes you want to look at the Krebs cycle and learn it, and it makes you want to help someone and realize that there's point. But I don't know. I don't know. You tell me because we're sort of at different parts of the journey on it. But it's like the relationships with mentors, I think, is not as accessible. I think that it's very coveted, and there's always, I don't know, it's a different feel to what it was 30, 20 years ago. I think when I was doing it, there was a lot more openness about it.
Yeah, I think the conversations are a little bit different. It's about how can you streamline everything and get as many people in as possible and go out and start working on your own because it's not really your other option is to go work at, say, like a
A
health food
company.
store and
Yeah, yeah.
make $80,000 a year or something like that. It's not so much conversations about, well, have you considered an internship? Is there even a place that you can get an internship?
Mm,
Or, even reaching out to people like yourself, like it's, I don't know, they're very different conversations. I almost get the feeling like, we're trying to build, as at the moment. It's pretty spectacular to watch. We're trying to build this awesome community and we are getting to know each other because we're recognizing that, your friend that you're going through university with is who you might catch up with on coffee and discuss case studies and stuff with. But
Yep.
there's also, I think, a little bit of now that naturopathy is growing, I wonder if there is a little bit of fear around like, oh, I can't share what I'm doing because it's so competitive almost, if that kind of
That's
makes
always been
sense.
there. That's always been there. There's always been the competition. There's always been the I can't share my herbal formula because someone else might use it. There's always been I can't share my protocol. There's always been this secretive part in our profession, which has been always something that I've tried to dispel. Because as soon as that information, I mean, my belief system is that I channel that information. So if I work out a protocol for someone that works, it doesn't come from me. It's something that's greater than me. And then I think it's my duty to share it. But as soon as I share it with someone, it's free. It is just shared with the world. And then I think it's my job to then go and work out, well, what's the next one? So I've always taken that model and I've always been information sharing. But I think our profession as a whole, it's been very secretive. It's been competitive at parts. There's two parts to it.
Of course. I think that ties in beautifully with what you were saying too, in terms of like practically bring it back to yourself. Make sure you yourself embody the philosophy and the wisdom of naturopathy because it was built on the fact that, people weren't able to access clinicians and they needed to be able to do their own, like bring medicine into their own hands. And I just I love that it's about sharing knowledge and sharing what you've got because as a community, it's so much better. Like,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
beautiful, beautiful. When along the way did you decide that you were gonna hone in on reproductive health and fertility? When did that sort of blossom?
I always wanted to be a gynecologist. I always wanted to help people have babies and do all that sort of stuff. And when I was 17, everyone was like, you're going to work with kids. So I was studying energetic medicine and parapsychology, like all that sort of stuff at the same time as naturopathy. And everyone around me was like, you're just going to specialize in kids. And I was like, I'm 17. What do I know? Okay, I'm going to specialize in kids. And then I get out, I'm 20, and I think my second or third patient is a child with ADHD, 6-year-old girl. And the parents come in and the child comes in. The child is throwing things across my room, but crystals. Yeah. So I've got all these crystals out on the bench, and, it's my first clinic space. And oh my God. And she's throwing the crystals everywhere and smashing them together and breaking them and the whole bit.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
just sitting there. I'm 20, I'm clueless. And no disrespect to any 20-year-olds listening. And I am there and I'm watching these parents rip each other to shreds. And I'm like, I don't want to come in at a 6-year-old. I want to come in before. Yeah. Because if I come in before, I've got a chance of actually helping. This 6-year-old stuff is just too late. And that was it. And then I was like, that's it. I'm doing fertility stuff. And then life just kept bringing me amazing opportunities as life does.
Amazing. So is that when you started thinking about doing your masters and then going into your doctorate
PhD and
as well?
everything.
Yeah.
So 20, then I did the Bachelor of Health Science. So I was the diploma type. So then I went to Bachelor and then I went to, which was a big deal to me because I hadn't finished school. And I was like, wow, I can still have a university pathway. I always thought it was closed to me. So then I did the Bachelor, then I did the Masters. And the Masters was amazing because it was this course that's starting at Sydney Uni, which is a Masters of Reproductive Medicine and Human Genetics. And I'm like, I'm doing that. And I fought them because I was the first naturopath to do it. And they were like, you don't have the right training, you don't have the skills, da, 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 da. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm doing this course. I'll speak to the dean, I'll do whatever. And then, yeah, I was the first naturopath that did it because all they had were gynecologists. Then they started having, and embryologists and things like that. Then they started allowing GPs. But I was even before the GPs were allowed.
That's
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
It was so good. It was the best thing. And one of the things that I've loved with every time I do new learning is I love how I remember sitting in this lecture in the Masters of Reproductive Medicine going, I officially know nothing. I mean, have I written the textbook at this point? Or I'm writing it at the same time? I can't remember. One or the other. I think I'm writing the textbook at the same time. And I'm sitting there in the Masters and I'm like, I'm writing a textbook about naturopathy, but actually I know nothing because for me, when you learn something, it pulls everything apart and then you create what's the new. And I remember sitting there with all, because I was the generation where it was chastery has to be taken before the sun rises or the moon sets, like all this stuff. And it was like, it will only work if you take it at night. And then one other lecture says it only works if you take it in the morning before they've jumped out of bed. Like all this stuff that makes no sense now, yeah? And I'm sitting there and they're talking about how the brain and the ovaries work. And I'm like, it's official. I know nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So,
It
so
was fun.
that would have been so daunting. Were you doing
That's
this as
good.
well? Were you doing it online or were you doing it in person
No,
as well?
so the masters, it was a beautiful setup. So they've stopped it at Sydney. It's still at UNSW. But so it was at Sydney University and it's about, I think there are about 40 of us. Yeah. So there's a group of 40 of you and you sit in a classroom that's actually just a massive table. And you all sit around and you've all got expertise and they've got international students, local students, everything. Everybody's equal and they just had experts, the absolute expert of reproductive medicine in this topic. And you'd have 2 lectures a week and you'd have all these massive assignments. And I'm topping the classes, like I got 100% on multiple assignments because I was like just throwing myself in it, just loving it. Yeah. And it was just phenomenal. So it was coursework masters, which for me, I think was better because I had no lab experience, nothing. And then, of course, the head of Sydney, the department, he's like, "Have you thought about a PhD?" And I'm like, "I haven't finished school. How can I do a PhD?" He's like, "What are you talking about? You haven't finished school." And so I explained. And he's like, "You can do one." And then that was that.
Wow. And
Mm.
so we're not quite sure if you were like writing the textbook at the time or maybe that came after, but I imagine
I'm
that
writing it at the same time.
at
I'm
the same
writing it
time.
at the same time. And I'm lecturing at three. So I'm lecturing Nature Care, ACNT. It was University of Western Sydney. And I'm doing the masters and I've got a private practice and I'm writing the textbook. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a type A,
I
clearly.
love it. Like, wow. I imagine as well, you're like sitting in there editing as well in the book, like, there's so much I want to share and I want to put into the book, but trying to also keep that
You just
like
can't. You
relevant.
can't.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with your knowledge that you did get from your masters, anybody that's interested in pursuing fertility and reproductive health, would you say, yes, absolutely, please go for it?
I wanted to bridge the world and I wanted to have a voice that could have proper conversations with the, conventional fertility community. And I didn't know the language, I didn't understand it enough. I was still thinking chastery was time limited. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't know how to communicate with them to the level that you need. And I met some phenomenal people and like my PhD supervisor, and I talk about it a lot. And he's like, he didn't realize what we knew. They didn't, they don't know what we know. We don't know what they know, but I didn't know how to communicate with them. But it was an incredible bridging exercise. And I think if you're serious about a particular discipline, most of the main universities around Australia, they all have master's coursework options in specific specialties in health science. So I did have some friends that were like, I'm just going public health. And I was like, bores me to tears, not doing that. Um, but everyone has to work out what they love, And I was toying between, a few things, but I was like, that's what I really want. I was freaked out about the genetics because I was like, oh my God, am I going to be able to do it? Which of course is the one that I got all the 100% assignments in because I just loved it. Loved it. Mm,
Brilliant. And it really
mm,
translates as well when people like watching you talk about it, watching your lectures and watching
mm,
your keynote speaking, it translates that you love it and it gets people so excited and
mm.
in the language. So that's so brilliant. There is some conversations in on my level at the moment saying you need to niche down, you need to niche down, you need to niche down. Do you necessarily agree with that? To be successful, you have to niche down?
I think there's 2 ways to approach it. I think if you want to be a generalist clinician, you can be a generalist clinician. And a generalist clinician, it is a beautiful experience because your primary goal as a generalist is relationships generally. So you want to have a beautiful relationship with someone's family and you want to share the experience. But the level of complexity will be tricky to navigate because you can't know everything. Like I would love to think that I could be a specialist in multiple areas. I can be really good at fertility and reproductive stuff because that's where I'm constantly learning. But throw me in the deep end and go do cancer. I can absolutely help someone with it, but I'm not going to be as good as someone that all they do all day is cancer. So I think it depends what type of practice you want to have. And, like I've got enough years now where I look at it and I've got patients that I've had for 25 years, 30 years, and we've shared life and they know my kids' names and they know my kids' ages. And we've gone through the ups and downs of, that phrase, hatches, matches, dispatches. We've done all of it, together. And that in itself is so beautiful. And they
Yeah.
always kind of go, I've finished my family, but I don't want to stop seeing you. Are you going to kick me out? And you know what I mean? Like it's that sort of thing. So I think
Oh,
no matter what niche you're in, you will have some incredible connections and incredible journeys with people if you love what you do. And if you niche, I think it's easier to market. I think it's easier to network. I think it's easier to build a sustainable practice. I think it's easier to develop various things, but you can also niche as a generalist. You can be someone that prioritizes detoxing and detox plans and programs, or you can be someone that, is a generalist and goes, it's spring season. We're going to focus on histamine and hay fever, and it's winter. We're going to focus on immune. And you can do that. I just think for me, I think for reputation building, niche practices are easier, and not that reputation is what you're wanting, but your reputation is a reflection of the happiness of your patients. And so if your patients are really happy and fulfilled, that I think it's just, yeah, it's a tricky one.
yeah, yeah,
There are pros and cons in all of it.
yeah. Do you ever do you ever get bored with fertility, or you get like
No,
FOMO when you see somebody else doing something
no,
in a
never,
different, you just love it?
never. Just love it. I always say, please don't come and see me for acne because I will be bored, completely and utterly bored. But for some people, they love it. But of course, if someone's there, maybe she's got PCOS and infertility and she has acne, I'll help her. But that acne means something completely different to me because I look at it through a reproductive lens.
Yeah, that's great.
Does
And
that
I
make
guess,
sense?
yeah, absolutely. And it's it's so nice to see the boundaries as well already. Like, of
Mm.
course you'll help people, but it's like, no, no, I'm here for this, and this is where I'm going to really be able to to give you the best value, you know? So,
I think we've got enough people in our profession that have really honed in particular areas, and so I think that you can refer really well as well. So I think it's something there. There's something in that to consider. But whatever you do, you've just got to love it, and you've got to, like everyone always jokes with me, like my friends or family, or whatever. They're like, when you're on holidays, do you stop reading papers? I'm like, not always. Just because I love it, like,
yeah.
and I have research assistants and we just fling papers at each other. We just have a geek chat and we're just like, oh my God, did you read this? Like we love it. So you've just got to work out what it is that you love because it's effortless. The
Yeah.
learning is effortless. And if it's effortful, find what it is that's effortless for you.
I love that so much. It's that's really inspiring and super relatable as well. I know the new friends I've made in this, we literally are recommending each other books, and
Yeah.
we're standing in the health science sections looking at books for some light reading. It's so
Yeah. Yeah.
funny.
Good.
So
Perfect.
love it.
Perfect.
I'm curious to know, how did you manage to juggle your roles and responsibilities as mother with such a beautiful career, ambitious career, full career as well? A few of us are kind of, I think, wondering how do we juggle it all? And I would just love to know if you've got any gems that you can share on that one.
There's a few things with that. I think the most important is that there's no stay-at-home full-time mum that doesn't feel guilty that she's not working, and there's no woman that works that doesn't feel guilty that she's not stay-at-home mum.
Amen.
We, those of us that juggle, we're never feeling like we're winning at anything 100%. You just have to accept that feeling and know that really you are. And I think we always have to juggle prioritizing things. I remember this moment when my oldest, so he's 12, I've got a 12 and a 10-year-old son. Um, my 12-year-old and he's born, and I remember this moment feeling things kind of shift, knowing how much I gave to my patients and how much I genuinely felt so deeply grateful for them, but deeply that I wanted to help them. And remembering him being born, realizing that there is nothing that would step in the way of what I gave my son. Yeah. And so you can still do both, but your children are always going to trump. That's just how it should be. That's the healthy version of it. and you just maneuver it. But I think that it's amazing as a mother to show your children something that you're passionate in, to show your children that you have chosen a career of service, that your heart is about compassion, like all of my kids' friends know that they can ask me anything about health, and they all do, including the 12-year-old boys asking me about all the sex questions whenever they're in the car. It's hysterical. But they all know that I'm passionate. They all know that apparently I'm good at what I do. They all know that work has its place. And my kids have been, really knowledgeable, obviously, around health. I've explained everything to them as we've gone. And all it's done for them is all they know for them as a career option is this idea of find what you're passionate about. They see me just magnetized to knowledge and they go, I want that. And we just keep looking for what is it that magnetizes them, that's easy for them to learn about, that they positively thrive in, that they feel electric. Like we talk about how I feel when I lecture and how I just channel information. And then my oldest is just this phenomenal speaker. And I watched him, like he had this thing the other day at school, he's in year 6, and it's his final presentation. And he just had adults enamored listening to him talk about de-extinction. I flew them to Melbourne to meet this professor. It's like they get the importance of what I love and they're trying to work out what they love. But they also know that, like, I presented for Designs for Health the other day. I'm in a room and they don't want babysitters, so they're in another room and they're like, don't interrupt mum, or they know on school holidays. Like we're juggling. And I think the most important is that they see that we love what we do, that we're contributing and that it's meaningful. And then we support them in that part of it. And then I think that's the most important part.
What a gift to give your children, that's all any of us could ever ask for, spiritually, emotionally, in every aspect. It's just I've never heard it explained like that before. So that's brilliant. Bloody brilliant.
The flip of it, if you don't mind me just stretching a touch,
Of
the flip
course.
of it is being a parent has made me a better clinician. Oh my God. Some of the crap that came out of my mouth before I had kids. Holy moly, you have no idea. And the humbling that comes with being a parent and the humility that we get being a parent and the stripping away of our ego makes us better clinicians in a way that nothing can do
Are
except
we
for being a parent.
are we talking about I will never give my kids TV and like my kids are not going to eat
Oh,
that? Like, are
that
we
one.
talking
Oh,
that?
absolutely. That. So we're talking about absolutely my kids have an iPad and I never thought that was going to happen. And yes, they've eaten McDonald's chips once or twice too. But they don't like them. It's fascinating. But there's that. But then there's also that we can sit with someone in the pain of, like I was speaking to a woman the other day this week and she is broken. She's 3 months postpartum and she's just shattered. And I've been there. And I talked to her about my anxiety when I was at that place. And I talked to her about just the humbling service of having children. And it makes me so non judgmental now. It makes me so much more compassionate. It means that all of my patients go, I can say anything to Leah and she's not going to judge me. And that gift comes from being a parent and being just broken down to the bare heart of who you are. And so I think the gift of both is just so beautiful. And of course, there are moments when you're like, oh my God, my kid's sick, and how am I going to do this? And how, there's that. But the gift in both of those extremes is just, you can't replace it.
Yeah, yeah. And have you found that it's gotten easier as time goes on as well? Like it's
Of course.
practice.
Of course. But, you just become more adaptable and parenting makes us adaptable. We kind of go, okay, we're just going to go with it, and it makes me a better clinician. And then that, and you just keep going. But I think you've just got to have the real essence at the heart of both because otherwise you lose track and it's just all, yeah, you can get overwhelmed.
Yeah, for sure. Have you got any sort of like practices or rituals or like hero products even that just help you keep track of your why and keep track of your reasons?
Not a product, but, and this sounds trite and I don't mean it to, but I have this really strong, clear, ethical position that when I work with my patient, they will get the best care. So it doesn't matter how many hours sleep I've had, like when I had newborns and stuff or whatever, they will always get the best care. And just by flipping into that, I'm in that compassionate service state. So then everything is better. So technically, my work with patients ends up being a form of meditation because it keeps bringing me back to what's my heart-centered approach with it. And so having that value set when you're working with your patients, I think makes it that it is never work and it is always, I have to be the clearest version of myself. They have to get the best service. I have to give that bit extra. And then by doing that, then the universe gives me more, which then makes me a better parent. But the practices, I mean, we all have, exercise, good sleep, good diet, vitamins. Like we all have all these things. I've got a really clean diet. I've got everything's organic, like all that stuff makes us physically be able to do the things that we want to do. But we've got to remember our self-care in it. We've got to remember to just really nurture ourselves in amongst it and have meaning, because without the meaning and without the faith of whatever you believe in, it can be a bit full on.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Like burnout seems to become a common thing, and it's always because self-care has started to
100%.
started to wave.
100%. But I do think that burnout happens when we lose meaning, more so than just because we're overworked. Because we can be overworked and have meaning and know that it's a phase and stay open-hearted rather than soul burnt. But the soul burning is when we've lost meaning and we don't know why. We don't have a why. We've got to have a why. We've got to have a why for, like one of the biggest lessons I learned from one of my many supervisors was in any exchange that you have with a patient, you've got to have your selfish why. And I use the word selfish intentionally, but I know it's prickly because we can have a why of I want to help this person and I want to give them a baby if it's fertility, whatever, yeah. But there has to be a yes for me for my journey. So I always like my patients. If I don't, I work out how to pass them on to someone else. Never work with someone that you don't actually like. If you don't like them, you're never going to do the best for them. You've got to have a why for why you want to help them on their journey, but you've got to have something that engages you. So is it I'm learning this in this dynamic? Is it I'm really interested in the puzzle and I'm really enjoying cracking the puzzle? Is it that there is something about that you see the growth in them and it heals that part of you that had that wound? Always have a selfish why. Always have a I'm doing this because I know that I'm getting this out of this exchange. And then there's always meaning in every exchange with every patient. Burnout is when we lose meaning.
That is profound. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's never about the money. It's never about the full patient book. It's never about anything like that. It has to have a bigger meaning. The
Yeah,
money comes. Money's just energy. It comes.
that's it.
And I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone in any of their financial circumstances or sound like a nut job, but never focus on the money. Never. You have to have your worth. Like whenever I speak to students or other colleagues, you always have to have an hourly rate that reflects the energy that you put in. You have to be disciplined about charging. You have to not burn out from not charging your worth. But once that's done, that's over there. And the rest has to come from your heart.
Beautiful, beautiful advice because it's so easy to get caught up in it. It's so easy to get caught into it.
Of course, we've all got bills, mortgages, all the boring bits. Yeah.
I'm going to ask another question. I would love to know, here's a good one. What achievement are you most proud of in your career so far?
My kids. It's not really my
Good
career, but the
answer.
thing that's the most, like my PhD, I wrote it to my greatest, like I dedicated it to my boys, my greatest ovarian discoveries. Like everything is there. Yeah.
Beautiful.
But career wise, I think, let's get practical. What's the thing I'm most proud of?
Or just like a pivotal moment that you're like,
I
this
think
will
it's
never
just
ever leave
courage.
me.
No, it's just courage. I mean, every single one. Like what nut job at 26 approaches a publisher and goes, I want to write a textbook? Do you know, like everything was either naive, courageous, or just, I don't know. It wasn't narcissism. I always look at it and go, was I just a narcissist? I don't think it was narcissism because there was definitely altruistic intention and wanting to contribute. But it's like it's the courage, it's the leaps. They're the things that I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
PhD was like everything is a leap. They're what I'm proud of.
So I imagine then the next question of have you had anything that you regret or have been like ruminating on?
No,
Nah, you can't because
no.
it's all leads you to today, right?
It all leads you to, and it's all learning, and you've got to find your meaning. Yeah. So you've got to find your meaning in all of the learnings. And if you find your meaning, it's fine.
Beautiful. So the textbook, we got to talk about it. It's our
Yep.
favorite, every single naturopath student, it's our favorite little buddy. You're in literally every single one of my assignments. Um, When did you know you were going to write a textbook, and how did that process come about?
So how old was I? So I'm 24 and I'm lecturing ACNT and Nature Care, 25 Western Sydney Uni as well. And everyone's telling me to write courses. And then at one point, I was full-time course writing naturopathy. I think it's 26. I'm full-time writing courses at ACNT, but also writing courses for the other places. And then all the other teachers are using what I've written. And then I'm like, this is ridiculous. We just need a textbook that has everything. And then I approached Elsevier. And
Brilliant.
then that's what happened. I mean, again, luck, fortuitousness. I mean, Sophie Kelinecki, she doesn't work there anymore. She met with me for coffee, 26, and goes, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, I mean, now at 47, no one would do it because there's no textbooks. You know what I mean? Like no one would be doing that because they don't get their money out of textbooks in quite the same way. But there's different ways that you do it now. And then it's so interesting, you know, like all the different contributors, all of whom are incredible. They're all like, oh, I've wanted to do something like this. And it's great, you know, like everything that they contributed. It was so amazing to have so many different voices and lenses and put it together. And yeah, it was really hard and really rewarding.
I think I think all of the collective voices is what makes it such a beautiful, comprehensive text because as a current student, there still is an element of trying to sift through information and sift through like concepts, and I'm sort of like, you know, we're always being met with, oh, well, there's not enough research, or how do you know
Mm.
whether to trust this, or, you know, even, and I'm not knocking it, we have a lot of traditional resources that we're looking at as well. And it's just such a beautiful book in the fact that it was so comprehensive and it really does feel like it was written for the students, and it's so easy to follow. Like you can follow the logical progression of it as well. So just I think I'm going to say it on behalf of all of the naturopath students. Thank you, and thank you to everyone that's contributed. It's really saving us, and it's
Good,
beautiful to read, really beautiful to read. So thank you.
good.
Um,
The type A part of my brain, I think, helped because I'm very systematic and organized. So I think that was helpful.
yeah, and I think a lot of the people in the degree are also type A's as well. So we
Excellent.
get
We all get
it.
along.
We get it. Did you ever have any like pushback on that project or moments where you're like, oh my gosh, this isn't gonna come together, or it just happened?
Look, it was an enormous amount of work, and there are definitely sections of the book that I don't remember writing. Um, but no one ever pushed back. Everyone was incredibly supportive. They had amazing support at Elsevier, you know, and always there were like life dramas that happened. Some contributor pulls out at the last minute, you know, like that sort of stuff. Whatever.
As a master of reproductive health and fertility, what is your current relationship with conventional medicine? As we know, there is a little bit of a divide between the modalities, and I don't know. There's sometimes I think moments where we feel like we almost have to pick a side, and you have to work so closely with conventional medicine as well in reproductive, like, you know, assisted reproductive technologies and things like that. What's your, it's cheeky, but like, what's your stance with conventional medicine?
Everything has its place. And I think the most important thing as a clinician is to develop a network of clinicians that share the same values as you. And you all have strengths that you bring to the equation. Like literally while we're talking, I've got patients that are texting me and I've been texting their specialists and we're all on the same page. You know, like there's this one person, we all just want her to have a healthy pregnancy. The specialist texts me, I text him, you know, we're all just trying to work out what she needs to make sure that she's okay. The patient then knows that we all care, we all work together. I don't do IVF. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't do laparoscopic surgery, but I can support her and I can support from my lens the stuff that I offer her. You know, everything contributes something of value, and I do think it's more around who you work with rather than for or against. It takes time to build trust with other clinicians. It takes time for them to trust you and to understand how you work. It generally comes through the communication around the patient. You know, like I've got missed calls, I've got to call other doctors back and whatever. And there is one of the things that I noticed a lot, you know, as I was evolving is naturopathy doesn't integrate into the wider community the way other professions do. So you need to make sure that you integrate yourself into it. As soon as you're a silo and you're cagey about what you're doing, you're non-communicative, and you're making a bridge or like a divide for the patient, you're ostracizing your own care. And then all of a sudden, your care can't work collaboratively with everybody else. But the
Yeah.
objective is to recognize that there are some incredible clinicians, regardless of what discipline they do. And if you find the group that is your group, you can just make so much magic. I mean, he was my PhD supervisor, Bill, but he and I have spoken at each other's conferences collaboratively just to show how we work together. You know, like he works for a fertility group and they had this like massive conference and he's like, can you just talk for me? I'm like, of course. And I'm just there talking about a few hero cases of how we've worked together. And the audience is like, I didn't even realize you guys did that, you know? And then I'm like, you know, he's going to speak for all of my students shortly. And it's just the relationship that you build. Because if I sit here and I go, menopause is toxic, you know, and it's pushing people into early menopause, and oh my God, don't get me started on Zoladex. There are some situations where they might need Zoladex, you know. I'm not there looking at the stage 4 endometriosis that he's opened up and he's like, I don't know how to stop the body at this point. And I can't go here, have some Chase Street. That's going to be enough, because it isn't.
Yeah.
But as long as we work together and we navigate the process, but I think a privilege of what we do is that we're not attached to a hospital or a fertility center or something like that. And so the patient knows that my recommendation is unbiased. And often they just need someone to unpack it. And so then they'll talk to me about, well, what would you do? And what are the pros and what are the cons? And how can we create a path for you?
It's beautiful to think about it. It's all relevant though. Like it's all community. It's all you're not competing. You can
No,
collaborate. You really can. You can
you can.
collaborate.
Yeah,
So
but then I can pick up the phone and call Bill, for example, about this patient today and go, Bill, she needs the progesterone because her anxiety is off the charts, and from a neuroplasticity perspective, she needs it. And he's like, I have that's not how I work with progesterone, but for you, I'll do it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
that
he's there going,
trust.
I'll only do it because of a miscarriage risk, and I'm like, she needs more. She's spinning, and he's like, for you, I'll do it,
Yeah.
because we both know risk is not there. There's no harm. She needs it. Like it's like you got to think collaboratively, and you've got to put the patient first and really get out of the no, everything we do is amazing and everything they do is rubbish. No
Yeah.
one wants to kill anyone. No one wants to do surgery if they don't need it. No one wants to put someone on antibiotics if they don't need it. No one wants to cut a cord on an umbilical cord at birth prematurely. Everybody actually wants to help the patient. Sometimes they don't know what the latest research is. It's make your community.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. How does that incorporate into perhaps patients that may not have trust in, like, do you ever have patients that come
Of
to you and
course,
they've got difficulties with trust with healthcare
of
providers due
course.
to past experiences?
Course. And that's where the community that I've built, or the network that I've built of clinicians, are people that I would put myself on their operating table if I needed, you know? So you've got to find the right clinicians. And I do think that one of the skills that we don't highlight enough as naturopaths is that one of my main roles, I think, is organizing their health, creating a timeline of events, creating a sequential understanding of what's actually happened for them, and then forging a path in front of them so that they can walk down something to get to the goal that they want. And I always say to patients, your goal is your goal, it's your journey. You're enlisting me to support you to get to your goal. I'm not judging you about what you want. You know, like you might want to. I remember I had this one patient and it was this ethical moment for me. And then I was like, remind yourself, what is it that your value is? Your value is to help them. She wanted a general anesthetic to deliver her child. She didn't want to feel it. She didn't want to see it. She didn't want to know about it. She didn't want to go through labor. And I was like, I will find you the most compassionate obstetrician that will support you to have that type of birth, because it's not my journey. I can sit there and I can guilt her into going, the child's going to miss out on this probiotic species and you're not going to have this hormone shift, like all that. Her journey. She's got to choose it. And I think when we remove ourselves from that ego pace, really, you know, I know better, you know. I remember when I was 18 talking to a patient and trying to talk them out of going on antidepressants. What the, you know, now 47, I go, you need antidepressants? Okay, let's do it. Maybe it's 6 months. We'll look at it in 6 months. Maybe you need it for the rest of your life. You have to have the best quality life. Do you get me? You know, like I
Yeah.
think we've got to remove all that perfectionistic part of naturopathy It has to be organic diet with no antibiotics. It's got to be perfect, perfect, perfect. For some that works, and for some it doesn't. And so much, so much of a person's health journey is medical trauma, is they're so out of body and discombobulated after terrible experiences, and all they need from us is compassion and a path to find themselves again. And like I always say with patients, I've got a lot of colleagues that have pulled me up on this and gone, I don't know if I agree with you, but I always write really good notes for patients, and I write really good treatment plans for patients while we're talking, because anyone, myself included, you sit there in a consultation, you're balancing your trauma, you're balancing your emotional responses, your prior medical experiences to try to actually understand what the hell the clinician is saying. And you walk out of there and you go, I don't know what the hell just happened. So every single person has a plan forward, and I write out the steps so that they know that they can look at that document and they can make sure that they go, I know what I'm doing. And that's, I think, so much of what we give them. We sit with them, we understand who they are, we work out what their need is, and we work out, I'll help you create a path to get through this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. We're probably just seeing the look on my face. I just feel like I've just like had this like sheet lifted off my
Yeah.
eyes, and I can see like it's just and it makes so much total sense. Like
Yeah.
you feel dumbfounded when you think about it. You're like, of course, but
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
it's people centered. Yeah.
It's why we do what we do. That's our meaning, We have to find
Mm.
many layers to it, but that's our meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just think about yourself, like we get so caught in, did I give them the right vitamin? Did I give them the right recommendation? All a person needs is the clarity of where to go. And if it means that you give them B6 next week and not this week, nothing changes. But the trust that you build with them and the trust that they regain with their own body trumps everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. I can, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to get in there.
You're like, I want to practice, I want to do it.
I want to
Yeah,
get in.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you will. You will. And I think, and that's why we don't burn out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, full circle.
All right, so I've got a couple more questions for you. Previously, you were president of the National Australian Herbalists Association, or the NHAA, which, from my understanding, meant that you were one of the main influences driving the association at the time. During your term,
Mm.
what was your main focus of working within the NHAA to further the profession of naturopathy? And do you still engage in politics?
Okay, a few parts to that.
Loaded.
I hate, no, 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 that's fine. I hate politics. I'm just a fighter. So I fight for causes. It's just my nature. A few things in my astrological chart in that one. Um, so I was on the NHAA for 9 years. So while I'm doing the masters and writing the textbook and all this sort of stuff, I'm like, I should get in and help education out and standardization of education. So that's how I started. And then all of a sudden I'm VP, and then all of a sudden I'm president. I left the board when my second child was born, and I couldn't give any more to the association because of kids. I got in there and cleaned stuff up. So if you think about my brain and how I wrote the textbooks, it's what I did to NHAA. So I tidied up constitutions, and I tidied up processes, and I tidied up all the logistics, and like we created fee schedules, like all of that. All of it was to get us to a point to get closer to registration, which is something I'm still passionate about.
Mm,
Um, but I really look back at my term and I go, I cleaned up. That's really what I did. And it was hard. There were parts of it that were emotionally hard. There were parts of it that were politically challenging. Um, but the fighting at Parliament stuff is not my strength. So I think we probably just needed a term of me doing that. It was an incredibly rewarding experience. I love the association in the sense of what its values are, and I love how its history and how it grounds us back to the real meaning of what we're trying to do. But yeah, politically, I tend to think there are other people that fight that better than me.
yeah, and I think it's going to be great to see them come into those roles as well, because
Mm,
it's so needed for where we're cleaning up, we're clarifying things from the past and giving us a place to return to, but also it's a
mm,
way to help guide us through the future, because it's growing at such a huge rate, the profession
yep,
too, isn't it?
yep, yep.
Um, what do you foresee as some of the next big trends or breakthroughs within naturopathy, or where the profession is kind of steering from where you're sitting?
Look, I think the political aspect of it, NHAA is really doing amazing things, and so I'm I'm confident that it's moving forward in the direction of getting closer to registration and just the professionalization of the profession. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but just more that we're standing on equal footing with other allied health, because I think it's important. I'm not into the other registration like models. I'm very much pro registration. I think there are many aspects of that that go really well. I do think it's an important time for naturopaths to be really clear around. I come back to it again, not to sound like a broken record, but I think it's important that we come back to our meaning and our gift to health, because I think we marginalize what we perceive naturopathy offers to dietary changes or supplemental recommendations or whatever, which I think oversimplifies what we offer. So if you think about it like this, and obviously just because I'm in fertility, that's the space that I predominantly focus on. Fertility specialists are recommending supplements and having their own supplement range. A person doesn't see me because I say, I want you to be on 600 milligrams of ubiquinol. They see me because of my knowledge around it, my understanding of the human body, my whole picture perspective, which certainly incorporates emotional, spiritual, mental well-being as well. So
I
I
was just going
think
to
we need
say.
to, yeah, we really need to hone in on that. Our skill set is around the whole person, and our skill set is around supporting people with longer consultations, supporting people with really being compassionate and service oriented. And I do think, and this is no disrespect to general practitioners, but the general practitioner model has evolved where they have 5-minute consults and they don't have the time to spend with their patients in the way that they want to, which is why a lot of functional GPs exist. But we're there to really help them guide to create the life that they want. And so I think if we hold steadfast to that, we've got a really good future. If we hold steadfast to, I can tell you to take ubiquinol, that's dying, and our understanding of synergy of herbs, our understanding of synergy of collaborative treatment strategies, and our understanding of all of it, it is evolving very rapidly through social media. So there are a lot of people that will do weekend courses, life coaching courses, whatever, that are recommending things that we would recommend. So really remember that the most important is the relationship that you're forming with your patient, because they will
100%.
come back to you as the trustworthy source. They may come back to you with ChatGPT's interpretation of their pathology, but they will trust you to know that you've got their best interest. And people love that they can message me and go, can you remind me when was my last period? Like they love that I will take notes and I will remember the big moments of their life and I will be that anchor for them.
100%. And adding on to what you were saying earlier as well, the fact that you are in that unique position where you're not restricted by red tape and you're able to create beautiful, they can tap into essentially your network of people
Yep.
as well.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
just just ensuring care and confidence all the way.
Yep.
Beautiful. Ah, I've got goosebumps.
Hmm.
Well, I just want to thank you so, so much for your time for the podcast today. I have one final question to ask you before we go. What is next for you? We love to know. We're Sticky Beaks. Anything you would love to plug, this is your free moment. Go for it.
Thank you. So in the last 2 years, I've really developed my own education platform. And I've got incredible research assistants that work with me, and we've been sort of learning the ropes of how to deliver it as you do. And I'm a big believer, like I'll always give, my time to various seminars and different things that are at no cost. And then there are things that obviously are at cost. But next year, the 3 main certifications are evolving to year-long deliveries. They're getting even bigger and better. So there will be the fertility stream, the gynecology stream, and the obstetric stream. They're pretty massive, yeah. And the cohorts are international and guest speakers and like all sorts of really cool things. But I love having the flexibility of my own platform. I mean, I do lots of lecturing in lots of different places, but my own platform is where I feel like I get to weave the nuances of really how I do it. So, yeah, just check out the website. There's lots there.
I will, of course, link that in the description as always. Thank you so much, Dr. Leah Hechtman.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
You've been listening to a Danilura D Naturopathy production. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. As some of you already know, I'm no longer on social media. However, I do have a website linked in the description where you can sign up to my newsletter and can find a contact form to get in touch. I love receiving emails from you guys, letting me know how you're finding the show, your requests to be on the show, and even business collaborations and marketing opportunities. I do my best to reply to all of them each week. If you're loving what I do, please rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening, as it really helps with the visibility and to get us in the ears of other students. Thank you again for the support, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!